Well, hello again, folks. Dave Lytle back, and today we're going to go over the Maven B2. I did it. Sent the B5 back, but I wasn't done with Maven. I wanted to give him a shot, and I wanted to give him the original shot, the one I intended 2 years back. So we got that Maven B2 in. And I just want to start off by saying nobody has wanted to be a Maven fan more than me. I so much wanted to have a 9x45 based on everything I had read. And with Maven being what so many people think is a near peer to, the big three. I really thought I was going to get away with something. Now, yes, you see a rifle here. It is a B2 review. It's not a rifle review. But it's here for a purpose. And essentially, if you'll just allow me, I'm going to make an analogy. This is my Swedish Mauser, 6.5 by 55. I like it for the art that went into it. I like the quality of construction. I love the accuracy. And it serves a real purpose in my little arsenal. And that is that any time I'm going out and testing any new rifle, or I'm going to be testing or sighting in somebody else's rifle as a favor, I bring this with me. And I don't start to do any shooting until I've put a few rounds downrange with this thing. And the reason is, on any given day where I'm doing my part, I'm going to be able to put 5 shots inside an inch at 100 yards. That's how good this gun is with iron. And what that lets me know is whether or not I'm on the ball. And if I'm not, I'll just back off. I'll wait. No sense wasting ammo on a different rifle. But what it does also tell me is if I'm doing good with it, then I have a real basis of comparison to know what the other gun is doing and know if it's my fault or if it's the gun's fault. So that's the purpose. This gun, best I've ever shot with it, is about 5/8 of an inch center to center at 100 yards. It's fun. I've had 7 of these things in the past. They all shot excellent. And in fact, there was one that I put a Timney trigger on. And instead of a 2-stage military trigger, that Timney actually tightened things up even better. And here's the little story. I'm at the range with this gun. This does serve a purpose. I'm at the range with one of these Swedish Mausers with a Timney trigger, and I'm sitting next to a gentleman named Gunther, an older gentleman. And he's next to me on a concrete bench with his Weatherby Mark V, 300 Weatherby, with probably, if you can, I don't know what scope it was, but with the Bueller mounts and everything else, he probably had upwards of $2,500 worth of gun there. And I paid $69 for mine. So I'm getting ready to take my shots. Gunther is busy taking his shots with a whole bunch of hand loads. He's a good shot. He's not a slouch. But with that Weatherby, he's putting the first shot right where it's supposed to go. And I'd seen him do this many times. I've been to the range with him all the time. He always had this thing out. And it always shot the same. It didn't matter what hand load he came up with. It would put the first shot right where it's supposed to. Second shot was within an inch, a little high. Third shot, it's out there. It's high and to the right. And if he lets the barrel cool, that little pencil barrel, he'll just repeat the same thing. The next shot, right where it's supposed to go. Second shot, a little bit out. Third shot, there's no group. And that frustrated him. Well, I'm right next to him, and I need to see what this thing's going to do with the Timney trigger. So I ask him, I have no spotting scope. I have no binocular. I ask him, can you use that giant, gorgeous scope you got on that gun to see where I'm printing these shots? Yeah, sure, Dave. So I take my 3 shots consecutively with the iron, and he basically leans over the comb of his gun, turns to me, and just says, Dave, just go home. And he tells me what I've just done. And I confirmed it going down range. I just printed a perfect little snowman, one shot on top of the next on top of the next, that measured 3/8 of an inch center to center with surplus ammo. So here's the thing. Yes, the gun's accurate, and it serves its purpose as a golden standard. And the analogy, of course, is anybody who's familiar with this channel knows that we don't just look at a binocular and go, hey, yeah, thumbs up, really nice, or this thing's crap. We always compare it to something that's known. I have a series of binoculars that I've held on to as golden standards because I really know what they're going to do in all different conditions, whether it's cloudy, hazy, sunny, clear, whatever. I know how they perform. And just like this thing, that's what we're going to be using on everything, including the B2. That is going to be what if you want to hang on and see the long version of this, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're just going to be looking at how it compares to a bunch of other binoculars. I want to be a fan. And I know there's a lot of Maven fans out there, and I don't want to piss anybody off. I don't need nasty grams coming in. By the end, we're just going to show you what we're getting. But in the meanwhile, I want to carry on with this one story. It's essentially this. Yeah, he was frustrated with his beautiful Weatherby, with that Claro walnut stock, and it was gorgeous. Beautiful rifle. A lot of money in it. Me with my $69 Swede. But here's the thing. As happy as I am with the Swede, I'm no fool. And if the guy wanted to trade straight up, I'd take that Weatherby in a heartbeat. And not to sell. It's a specialized tool for a specialized type of hunting. You don't go hunting key deer with it. You go out west with that. That's what he did. He hunted out west. I've hunted out west. I know the purpose of a 300 Weatherby. And I also know that you only need that first shot. If you've done everything else right, you got that first shot. If he has to shoot a second shot, the second shot is still going to go basically where it needs to go, unless you're like at extreme terminal range, then it might matter. The third shot, no, but it's a specialized gun with a beautiful scope that's going to be able to do more than I'm going to be able to do with this thing, because I don't know how to shoot this thing beyond 200 yards. That's my limitation. I could use that Weatherby. It's a specialized tool. And so what I'm going to say right up front, and just get this over for people who want the short version, the B2 Maven is a specialized tool. It has its purpose. And in my opinion, it's brilliant. It's a brilliant tool. The whole concept of 9 power, I did the research, and I'm going to confirm right down the line that it's exactly it's what I like. I would like the 9 power. It does in fact give you so much detail, close to 10 power. It's almost practically a 10 power. And at the same time, it's more stable. I can handhold it better. You wouldn't think it would make that much difference. If you need a binocular that will give you a very generous field of view, which it does, a very pleasant field of view, certainly larger than you're going to get by a 10 by 42. Whether it's a Noctivid or an EL, it's practically almost a degree larger. Gives you brightness. You need something that's going to give you an edge early morning or in the evening, just a few more minutes longer. It'll do it. So if that's what you need, it's a great instrument. I haven't hunted out west in a while, but when I did in my youth, I know how it is to be trudging up shale-sided mountains all day long and be grabbing at the roots of sagebrush to keep from falling down. And I'm from Florida. I'm from thick, heavy air, and I'm up there in the high altitudes, and I'm taking 5 steps up the mountain and having to stop, just try and get some kind of air. It can be miserable hunting until you're getting where you need to go. And everything you have on you that weighs anything starts to really weigh more and more as the day progresses. Nonetheless, I can tell you, even though this Maven weighs, it doesn't weigh as much as the B5, but it's heavy. But it isn't that heavy that I wouldn't carry it for the purpose it's intended for. I think it gives a luscious view. I think it has a transparency that's almost like the Fujinon. It is very, very clear. Very natural color. It really, when you're looking at a black and white resolution test target, the white stands out. The black stands out. The contrast that this binocular gives is fantastic. And pretty much everything I said about the B5 that was positive about the construction, I'm going to repeat. It's the same with the B2, with one exception. And this may simply be Maven's quality control. It may be the fact that it's a loner. I don't know what it is, but I remember the focus wheel on the B5 being rather fast, which I have no problem with if I have control, which it gave me. It was a good focus wheel. It was not as good as the Kawas, but it was pretty darn good. The one on this B2 that we received was very heavy. It had a slight staginess to it. And when you combine that with how fast it is, which is quite fast, what I was experiencing, and Steve reproduced later, I didn't tell him a thing about it. He went out and tested it on his own and came back and told me this exact same thing. When it's as heavy as it is and you try and get it into motion, you just fly right past your target. And you have to double back. And then you went too far. And then you have to go back again. This does not mean that the B2 is bad. The one that we had isn't that hot in that regard. But my understanding of Maven and their customer service is that they won't let that stand. If you're getting a new model, not a loaner, and it's giving you that kind of problem, my understanding is they're gonna deal with it. They're gonna fix that. But just the short version, yes, go get it. If you need it for your long range hunts, you want the extra brightness. It's great. It handles good, feels good in the hand. You know, the non-locking diopter is, if you're going to have non-locking, it's just right. And I'm perfectly happy with it. But for those of you who are going to stick around, bye-bye, by the way. If you're done with me, bye-bye. But if you want the longer version and you want the comparisons, that's why, the analogy here, and just see how it stacks up against the, maybe in many cases, the less expensive binoculars that you're going to be able to use for that kind of a hunt. We're going to proceed with that now. So, here we are. The Maven B.2. Smaller than the B5. Handier than the B5. Feels really good. I didn't make any comments about the rubber on the B5, but you know what? It's growing on me. I like it. I like the feel. It has a good, not stickiness, but well, what am I going to say? Words. Tackiness, enough to where you feel like, yeah, it's kind of grabbing my hands, but I'm not leaving any imprints or anything in it. It's nice. The whole thing. It's contoured nice. Goes to my eyes nice. The eye cups are excellent. This wheel is not. I would be unable to successfully use this thing. Now, the one thing that the B5 had that this also has that I found to be a negative, and it is going to be ultimately the reason why I send it back. And it's not the field flattener. It's not just the small sweet spot. This has a larger sweet spot than the B5. It came to about 60%. Still too short. Still too small for me. But as I said with the B5, if it has all the sharpness, yeah, I put up with 50%. And here's where we're going to really get into the big comparisons. The closest thing to this binocular that I currently still have, though I fully intend to let it go if somebody wants it, is the Genesis 44 Prominar 8.5. 8.5 ain't that far away from 9, and it makes a pretty good basis of comparison. And I'm going to say the Maven slightly better resolution, but you might expect that. But I think it's resolution that's definitely not simply a matter of power. I think it simply is sharper than this Genesis. What we wound up experiencing was 4 separate sittings to compare these binoculars because the lighting conditions, the weather was very varied over the days that we've had this. We had rainy, cloudy, hazy, sunny, clear, and I couldn't just do one test and leave it at that. I mean, let's see how they compare to everything under different conditions. That's what we did. And the best I'm getting under good conditions from the Maven was essentially -1, group -1, element 3. Okay, so it's down a bit from 5. It's kind of to be expected. That's a 10 power, 56 millimeter. Okay, so it's down an element. It would kind of, sort of bring in 4. The Prominar, it's behind it by an element in every way. It's -2 or group -1, element 2, and then it would phase in and out with 3. Now, here's the interesting thing, and this is the real reason why as much as I want to be a fan of Maven, I'm going to have to give give up. There's something. With the B5, I said I didn't want to call it distortion, but there's something about the way it renders, and it may just be my eyes and have nothing to do with you. You may be completely happy with it. It's just why I have to give up on it. There's something about the way it presents an image to where it's like you throw it up, you're looking at your resolution test target, and it's like, oh, that's sharp. And you look real close, and now is it really sharp? Oh, yes, it is sharp. Maybe, oh, no, where did it go? And I'm working intensely on the diopter and on the main center focus. It's as good as I can get it, and oh, yeah, it's beautiful sharp. And then a little off to the side, it's like an ethereal haziness. It just doesn't come through as clear. But then you look at that spot and you focus on it, and then it clears up, and it's almost like my eyes are doing the work. There's only one binocular, other than these two Mavens, the B5 and the B2, there's only one that's ever presented that kind of image to me. That was the Opticron Imagic 8x32. It's the same thing. And it's frustrating as heck. Again, may just be my eyes, but you put this right up next to it, and it's like, oh, everything's perfect. You know, it may be at 8.5, it may be not quite the resolution, but everything is even. No sense of that anomaly. And it's a beautiful view. It's still a beautiful view. This is giving me darker greens. This is giving me bright greens. Maybe it's emphasizing the greens and the yellows. As far as the field of view, this is giving me, like I said in its review, gives me a perfect image with a nice black, boundary around it. This thing, with the eyepieces all the way down for my glasses, often I'm getting some blackouts. If I raise it one position, that's better, but now I'm not actually seeing the edge of the field. Again, that's me. That's my face. That's my glasses. That's not you. And that's the beauty of Maven, because you just, I'm going to send these back and get my money back. You can do exactly the same thing, not have to be frustrated. It may fit you perfectly, but I'm telling you, what I'm seeing between the two, that weird anomaly just goads me like you can't believe. Anyway, let's see what else we got. On the other end of the scale, we've got the old BPOs. I did the BPOs. I also did the Fujinon. Of course, they totally outstripped the B5. They outstripped this thing too. But what's interesting is the 9 power is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. It's so close to 10 that it isn't that bad. It's almost as good as the B5. That's why I kind of feel this really is the sweet spot as far as the B series. Unless you want to go 11 power, but for that light gathering, for the field, yeah, this 9 power, I actually do like it. If it weren't for that strange anomaly, this thing just ruled. Now, I went extreme. You guys are sick to death of this, I'm sure. We got out the old Seiko Zooms. 8 power. Did great, as they usually do. -1, element 2. So it's a full step down from this 9 power, but you know, kind of makes sense. It's not that this is not so good. It's just that these are great. You know, there's your analogy. The Weatherby. It's good for what it's supposed to do. And it may be the exact tool that you really need. The old $69 Mauser, you know, yeah, it's good too. It's, but it may not be the tool you need. This may be it. Let's see, what else have we got here? This is going to be the most interesting one. I got out the Athlons. Okay, so we had 8, we had 8.5. We got the Athlons at 10 on the other side. And this is what's really interesting. Look at the size. The weight is definitely lighter. The focus wheel is much easier to work, smooth. It's fast too, but not stupidly fast. And as far as the brightness, I found this brighter. There's no question this is brighter. But what's interesting is it's not, I didn't find it that intensely brighter than this. And what's more, anything this did as far as the resolution target, this at 10 power definitely did. And very often when I was looking, I would think, well, this is definitely sharper. B2 is coming in sharper. But it actually wasn't. If I have to be honest, it really wasn't. It seemed to be, though, because it's so transparent. It's so clear. And the contrast in this thing is so good. Your blacks and your whites really seem to stand out. But when push came to shove, there were times when this would not be able to resolve the next smaller target on that resolution target. And this thing actually could. And I'm putting that down, you know, it's 10 power. It's a little more powerful. This not a knock against this, but it's something for you to you might want to consider. Less than $400 I paid for this. I paid the $1,200 to have the pleasure of reviewing this thing. And believe me, I wanted to keep it. I wanted to love it. What's more, 60% sweet spot, nearly 90%. I handed it off to Steve. Again, totally separate test. Put him out on the porch. Had him look at, the radio tower. Had him look at treetops. And I just said, you're going hunting, Steve. What do you want to carry all day? Well, this. Okay. Now, you need to be able to see what you need to see. It's coming on nighttime or it's early morning. You want those precious moments. Which one? Well, this one. But just a little bit. Okay. What did he see as the difference between these primarily? That was of the greatest import. This has a nice big field. This bigger field than this thing has. But he mentioned, I'm able to see almost all the way out to the edge with this. I mean, it's actually giving me more of a focused image than this. So, you know, you're looking out at distance, and I've seen muleys out there that are just lying down, not moving, and I can't rely on motion to tell that there's an animal out there on the fringes. This is gonna let you see it. Just something to consider. And lastly, of course, I had to bring out the Steiner. That's the Shadow Quest, 8 power, and that was one of the most interesting and revealing. I mean, this is $1,200. How much does a Shadow Quest go for? I spent a bit over $700 for mine. I know that you can find them advertised at $1,000 or $1,200, like this. The difference was this. At 8 power, everything this thing was showing me I could still see with the Steiner. And that's just with the test target. I did what sometimes I have to do to push the limits and break a draw, and that is do a pine needle test. And I'm looking at nearly 200 yards away at pines, and this is really key. Up close, any of these binoculars are going to make the bark on the tree, it looks real. It looks just like you're looking at it with your eyes. At 200 yards, that Steiner made all the pine needles stand out like they're prickly, like you're going to feel the points on them. The Maven, even at a higher magnification, made the whole image look like a beautiful oil painting by comparison. It was softer. It was not as sharp. It was not as precise. It does not have the same depth of field by any measure in a practical sense. So again, it comes down to the same thing I ran into with this Genesis. Do I need the Genesis when I've got something that's giving me a better picture? And that's at a lower power. No. So and I can't include the wheel because the wheel is fixable. Oh, that's awful. Anyway, but that strange anomaly for my eyes, to where it's just like a ghostly shifting and shimmering of focus, I can't stand it. I'll take anything else that I've got that just gives me a plain image and it looks perfect across the board by comparison. Again, specialized tool, you need it. You need it for whitetail in Michigan because you want that, just that few extra minutes. Go for it. It certainly isn't so heavy that I wouldn't carry it. Even out west, I'd carry it. But I don't need it when I presently have better. So I'm going to I'm still pushing on. That's me. That's just me, guys. I'm not hating Maven. And there's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't give them a call like I've done. Ask to have something sent out. See if you like it. It may be completely and utterly different for you. But yeah, I wanted you to know how these things are stacking up against other stuff that doesn't cost as much. And we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for sticking around and hearing the whole thing. And we'll try and set you up with something that'll do better next time. Bye.